Hey guys, it's me again, Orchler with us. Where I last left off is, let's see, checking. Let's see, the Warhounds are essentially making a beeline for the capital, because everything has pretty much fallen apart around them. All the fortresses on their side, and the whole outposts that were holding off the entire army have been broken through, and now that the enemy kingdom, the princess, at least, is with several lords are aiding the slaves and tribesmen. And along with that, Bells has already had to push through an entire army, including one of these lords, in a way sort of honoring him by not killing him, but giving him a somewhat making him honorable in a way of Bells' eyes is, well, honorary warhound for the simple fact of his sheer will to stay up even when his arms, legs, and several ribs were broken. Now, if you're asking, oh, why did he do that? In his eyes, that's pretty much the same thing that Loken did. Because if you remember, Loken literally had his arm cut off, had another arm slammed through a spike, and was pretty much just looking up, dead in the eyes. The only reason why he wasn't standing is because the guy pretty much swung his axe so fast that Loken never had the chance. This making Deku remember him and how he never gave up, always fought on the front lines, never abandoning his men, even was willing to make a deal, if it even meant his death, to save his men. Bell finding that truly honorable, and several of the angels' vengeance also acknowledged this. As they walk by, throwing him like one of their spare swords with the sawtooth design. As they walk back, like sort of, the tribesmen parting, like I said, like this Red Sea. The capital at this point has like 20,000 troops. And this is like after 2 weeks of Bell fighting through several hordes. And in between then Margaret and him discuss things. Margaret asking, Bell sort of asking, well, Margaret, your precious empire is falling all around us, and we may not even live. Well, on the off chance we do, what are you gonna do? I could pretty much, the Warhounds could have you saved for protection and such. Have you in our protective custody if we lived. That's a big if. If we live. Margaret running through her head. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I always wanted a flower shop or something like that. He's like, a flower shop. And she's like, yeah. I've always liked pretty things. Could be an artist. Could be a sculptor. Oh yeah, you did have that weird habit of looking at pretty things and painting them, didn't you? Yep. Well, if I'm able to get out of here, I'm taking my family and moving away from this stupid empire as far as possible. Really? What about the Warhounds? The Warhounds will be free. They can disperse and do whatever they want. What if some of them want to make a new tribe? Aaron can take over. If Aaron doesn't, Cassius can. And if Cassius doesn't, I'm pretty sure Lucius will. You have this all figured out. Yep. Because I know for one thing, the Empire's going down. But I'll be damned if my family has to go down with it. I'm saying, technically, I was transferred to the Master of the Warhounds, and my family by Gary. It's a flashback. Gary and Bell are like, not Bell, but Gary's freaking out, thinking, what's he gonna do? That his family's gonna die. is that his wife and daughter have pretty much been swarmed by ghouls already after being cut off. So he's pretty much broken. As Bell and his forces, like, were separated, and they pretty much had to, like, cut through, like, a horde of tribesmen and ghouls to just get to Gary's fortress. They had to fall back to, city. And they had to fall back to, like, pretty much the last ring. Like how cities in the old days would have multiple rings in the city as walls. That's essentially what Gary's was like. They had to fall all the way back to the, like, inner keep, where several thousand people were just waiting with several thousand soldiers. With Bell's, like, several thousand, like, I would say 6,000 or 7,000 troops at the ready to defend the thing as they were cutting through and actually managed to break their way into the city. The tide of ghouls and such had swept over the city so quickly that the wife and daughter were pretty much taken by flying ghouls. When Bell arrived to see Gary, he's like, "Gary, so what's the plan? How are we getting out of here?" He's like, "I don't know. There's no secret passage. There's nothing." As he throws, like, swipes stuff off the board, then he's like, "If we can, like, fight our way through to one of the gates, we can just rush out with all the slaves and such." No. It's like, "I'm going down with the fort." It's like, "What? I'm going down with the fort." As he's like, "Bell, come here." He's like, "Oh, what?" He reaches up, grabs his collar, and takes it off. I hereby, like, sort of doing, like, a transfer of mastery. I, Gary something other, Lord of Bazik, hereby proclaim you new master of Bazik and all slaves within. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "It's done." He's like, Barry's given up hope. His family's dead. The whole castle is about to be overrun. He's like, "I'm just gonna stay here, enjoy a thing of wine, and watch my city burn. Now get out of here before I change my mind." He's like, "Oh, come on, Gary, we can..." "No. Bell, just leave me." As he just takes a seat on his throne, where, like, yeah, I guess best way to describe it is his, like, little throne. Just having a pitcher of wine there. Eventually, some of the mages come bursting in, so he's, like, just sitting there with a drink, like... Bell and his forces at this point have swung open the gates. As barbarians started rushing through, the warhound berserkers confronted them and just started slashing and smashing through them. With the angel's fury, or the angel's vengeance, I keep on getting fury and vengeance confused, rushing out before anyone and starts slashing with the sawtooth weapons, causing massive things of blood to go everywhere. Gouts, I believe, is like massive gouts of blood flying everywhere. People seeing them. Then Bell's berserkers come rushing out. The iron claws start tearing people, and the line guards start holding the line. Bell leading the charge with the rabid hounds to clear the way forward, with the spearmen and swordsmen covering all of the slave wagons and such that are, like, escorting troops. Not troops, but people in general. As they are able to make their way successfully, fighting a run out or a breakout, they're booking it across the thing. The mages, like, tribesmen wanting to give chase, but the mage is saying no. Let them go. We'll fight them another day. But with that, like, in the inside, Gary's like, "So, you're the mages who orchestrated this," as he sets down a glass. He's like, fort's yours. As he says this, you will not resist. He's like, family's gone. All my slaves are gone. All my men are gone. What could I do? So, question is, what are you gonna do to me? Well, public execution. It's like, yeah, how about no? Excuse me? I ain't gonna be executed just so you can make a point across. If you're gonna execute me, we do it here and now. Him going over, drawing his sword like so. He's a bit wobbly since he's kind of drunk. Come on. Have at ye. As he's like taking deep breaths, his face is flushed. Come on, I'm waiting. The tribesman, one of the bigger tribesmen, come walking over very well. Starts swinging his axes. Well, not axes. Hammers. And starts doing a flurry of hammer blows. Gary managing to fend it off for a little bit, but with his drunkenness, he eventually makes a misstep and gets clapped, like, right in the head. Being finished off, he's like, come on. Is that all you got? As he reaches for his sword, the guy stepping on his arm and just swinging the hammer down over and over and over. All the other cities had fallen at this point. Gary's was the last stronghold in this section, in this region of the empire. That and the warhounds fleeing. It's one of the very few fights they've had to flee from. Well, that sort of gave an ego boost to all the tribesmen there. Some of them were disappointed they did not get chased, but orders their mind. They were told not to, so there must be a reason. Now, as Bell and them are making their way to the capital, they finally arrive, after forever of traveling and cutting through a few hordes of tribesmen and such, and going through a few lesser drakes and boars and wolves and lions and bears, that sort of stuff. As the troops from the fortress and such have pretty much been killed off. Some of them didn't even want to come, but they came anyway, so they were killed during the battle. So now he has 9,500 troops of 2 straight weeks of battle, taking out hundreds of troops that were supposed to fight, that were supposed to be delaying him. It's very much the same situation that it was at Gary's castle that is at the capital now. The enemy forces have broken in, and that they're raging inside the city. The princess and her troops are organized more closely in the center of the camp. Like they have their own perimeter set up. As Bell and the warhounds come walking over the city. It's more or less a quiet part of the siege, with the warhounds' banners flying high in the air. Several of the tribesmen look at this and just signaling a special horn meant just for the warhounds. As that heard, the princess was discussing with some of the mages what's the rest of the plan. Because with such a small area to defend, the defenders have been holding out quite well. Problem is, not a lot of food. The Empress has fallen deeper into madness, as in denial, saying, still cling to the thing that she may be able to claw her way out of this. Now, if not, she'll be making every single step agonizing for the enemy forces. Where the warhounds' banners are high in the air, she thinks, her trump card has arrived. Realizing that Bell, even now, if Bell's troops ran straight into those camps, killing as many as they could, he could not topple an entire, my guess is, I said 20,000 for the Empress? There's around 80,000 for the normal troops and such. That's after a week of battle. They had, over 100,000 in the beginning, but and the Empress had 40,000 in the beginning, so losing 20 to Yeah, 20,000 and such. Plus, they got a few extra thousand that were there to, like, delay Bell, so... See what I mean? As Bell's forces start walking towards the city, several hundred, like a couple dozen, like over 1,000 tribesmen come rushing in, like, preparing to fight, as Bell's forces completely ignore them and make a beeline for the city. Being stopped only by a rush of tribesmen coming from in the city. Bell's forces then being ordered to take up defensive positions, with the berserkers right behind the spearmen and such, because they may be able to take more of a beating, but an arrow to the eye could still kill most of them. Not all, but most. Trust me, some of them have been shot in the eye, so they've been referred to as the one-eyed, one-eyes and such. Not very creative names, but, you know. So, as Bell and them are pretty much just waiting there, the Empress wondering what's happening with the, well, mages and such, extending a parley of such. Bell looking around to the others, asking if it's just him, or all his commanders. She says, just him. Or your second in command if you're too scared. Bell looks around, what do you guys think? Margaret saying, it's an idiotic move, send Aaron. He's like, what? You are his second in command? Aaron's like, I kind of agree. But, it may look bad if it wasn't you going. With your reputation... If you even back away from a parley, your reputation and the fear that are strengthened to the tribesmen and such could wither away, kind of. And the warhounds in general, as Aaron argues his point. Bell coming to conclusion, alright, let's parley. As he walks forward, the princess never really seeing him, and her lords are there as well, like with a giant table in front of all of them, where they all standing there, weapons ready, fully armored. As Bell's personal bodyguard, the Rabbit Hounds, are presenting themselves with their specialized paint scheme, and their red on their armor. The lords and such taking a look at most of these men, trying to guess which one is Bell. They get bigger and bigger until finally Bell steps forward, towering over any man there, even the princess and most of the lords, looking down on them, asking who wished to parley. The mage is walking forward, welcoming them into their tent. As he looks for a seat, there isn't one big enough for him, so he just stands there waiting. So, what is it that you wish? Them pretty much saying they extend him an invitation that they are freeing all slaves, and that if he wishes to be free, like the rest of them, all he must do is help them tear down the castle. He's saying, I'm already free. As they take a closer look, noticing he doesn't have the whole chain around his neck. Them asking, when did he become free? Him giving the explanation on what happened. That the warhounds are his slaves, quote unquote, and that he had command over every single slave that was under Gary is now his slave, quote unquote, again. Them either not being appalled, but just downright confused, asking why didn't he just have them take off all their things? Cause never really thought about it. Plus, they were in the middle of a war. He didn't really have time to say, throw off your collars, brothers, sort of thing. If I did, the Empress might have still had his family. Because as soon as they ran away and got to enemy lines, as he explained, the Empress pretty much snatched him up and said that he better keep fighting, otherwise they would die. And even now, she still has them. So, if she orders him to kill them, he will do it without hesitation. letting this being known. Some of them like, alright. Others expecting this of them, and other ones not expecting this. Wait, hang on, what? Oh yeah, you were married. Several freedmen come saying orders, and as they look up and Bell, they're like, the Warhound, it's such an honor, as they like sort of bow in reverence to him. Having heard the stories of how this lowly pit fighter rose to one of the top-ranking spots in the army, or in the Empire in general. Them like sort of just being in awe. With that being said, the offer has been handed out. The princess and the lords being unsatisfied. The tribesmen and such have gone their fight, but they haven't. Several of the lords saying that they wish to fight Bell in one-on-one combat for the Warhounds to have them under their command, because all of them recognize from the stories they've heard that, and the fact that they've managed to fight their way here with relatively, as they look like, no fatigue, casualties, or anything of the like. Several of them thinking that if they brought them into the siege, they could topple the enemy's fortifications instantly. With others thinking, well, with that, they could just like have Bell order a revolt inside the entire thing. It's like a multitude of things, but the princess just wanting to fight him. Sure, because she has received word that he was able to defeat the lord that was sent to fight him, well, that went to fight him, as well as remembering the Emperor's words. She could never defeat Bell, for the Emperor acknowledged Bell was much better than him. And, if I may clarify something, Deku did not care for Gary whatsoever. It was more or less out of an obligation to ensure that the slaves and such were not harmed or taken by anyone else, because he understood better the devil you know than the devil you don't sort of situation. With that being said, Bell pretty much accepted all their one-on-one combat, defeating them all pretty quickly, either smacking them, crushing them, or just straight up chopping their weapons in half. The last one standing is the princess. At this point, a big crowd of soldiers came around and just started saying, fight, 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 with Bell getting flashbacks to the whole fight pit. Him returning more or less to his more berserker-style state, or pit fighter state, than a gladiator general that he's been pretty much playing as. Him and the princess standing off, her wanting to prove the Emperor wrong, while Bell just accepting this out of and the thought that if I refuse, they could do anything, have my men killed or whatever, so I'll accept any challenge they throw at him. With him coming to the duel with the princess. The princess is pretty skilled, but not Bell skilled. Margaret has been long since surpassed by Bell's students and Bell alike. It would, like, the princess is probably as good as Aaron. The Bell's remaining pupils and such are like the best fighters in the kingdom aside from, well, not kingdom, but in the Empire aside from him. Like, the Emperor was saying to have, like, fought Bell once before and had lost this duel very, very quickly and badly. Story that will be retold later on. Bell fighting and just deflecting the princess's weapon. As she like lunges too forward too quickly. Not too quickly, but too late, Bell easily sidesteps, grabs her by the hands, and lifts her up. And then just throwing her through a couple of barrels. Just and all of these like lords that surround him on the ground are just unconscious, with him walking straight out of the camp And as he makes his way to the warhounds, saying that move in a loud booming voice, the tribesmen actually just like parting again. No problem, as his warriors and such make their way into the last defenses. He converses with the Empress, who has almost pretty much lost it, having the children right there, trying to sort of guilt trip them into staying and protecting. Deku saying that they've been offered a deal. The Empress is intrigued. What deal? Her sort of saying with like a scorn. If you abandon the crown and leave it all behind, they will let you and your children go. All the slaves would be freed, and you'd get to live. As he says that, the Empress gives it a moment to think. No, we can hold them off. He's like, we cannot. Don't have the men, we don't have the food, we just don't have the supplies to support everyone. The Empire's at an end, my Empress. We can't hold on. I can't. The Warhounds, sure, we could hold on for a lot longer, but eventually we are going to be crushed by numbers. She's like, conscript everyone. Give everyone a weapon, tell them hold the walls. Even then, we'd only have around, what, 40,000? No, we already have, like, would only have 40,000. That's giving a weapon to every man and woman, and some of the elderly. We have to exclude wounded, women who are pregnant, and children. We don't have enough resources to even arm all of them. The only weapons and such are here are the ones that are already being used by the guard and my troops. We do not have the means. And she's like, oh, just give them some of your weapons. Our weapons are heavier than most. We use giant heavy axes. What do you expect? Heavy shields, heavy armor, everything we use is very heavy. This is not up for negotiations. We are done. She tries to argue the point more, Bell seeing that this would go nowhere. Fine. Fine. He says is walking up the stairs, her not suspecting anything. She in a mad state, he's like, fine. We will hold the line for as long as possible. Her lulling her into a false sense of security. Yes, yes. Children would be good, and the Empire will survive. Deku just slowly taking out his axes, acting like her bodyguard. She tries to address the court. Quickly, in a very swift motion, destroying the throne and cutting off her head in one foul swoop. The court is in, like, gasp. The royal guard that remained, like, kind of try to rush Bell, but them taking a second to stop. He says, for those who are loyal to the Empire still, take the children and flee. I will not stop you. But the Empire is at an end today. The Empress is dead. I'm going to stop more needless killing. Him taking the skull, well, head more or less, and bringing it, and walking down the stairs, telling them that he would go by himself, his wife, and his family telling him he's insane. The Warhounds telling him he's insane. Everyone's telling him he's insane. As he walks out one of the, like, front gates that go... So he walks to the mages and the lords and such that are standing there. As he just reaches behind them and tosses them ahead. Empress. No more needless killing. With the Warhounds right behind them because they just didn't follow orders. Several thousand slaves behind him because he's the only form of a leader they have left. Everyone in the courtroom pretty much just shut up. They're all in awe and that they don't know what to do now. Bell saying that You are all free. Do what you wish. And relinquishes the... because most of these were Gary's slaves and such. At least the remaining ones. Being released from their servitude, and the collars pretty much falling off. Because Bell ordered the collars to shut off and for the slaves to take them off. As that was finished, you just hear hundreds of clanks, like hitting the ground. After that was done, Bell just went to the fortress, well, went to the city, not city, but went out up to just what left. He just like went into the city, went to the Empress's, went into the not castle, is it, I forget what the word is for throne room? Capitol building? I forget the exact word for the whole building that the monarch and such are based, the castle, I guess, inside the city. Sort of getting high and making an announcement besides just shouting out there. Letting them all know that the fighting is over and that there will be no more bloodshed. As he does the whole take off your collars for you are free thing. All of them doing it, and all of them just standing around. The warriors and tribesmen are taking a breath of easy, just thanking the gods or whoever they pray to, or if they pray to even a god, that the warhound finally ended all this bloodshed, ironically considering he was one of the ones who were the most known for spilling the most, being the one to end it, and being the one to kill the most in it. Quite ironic in their eyes. With that being said, Bell just goes like, oh, taking a nice long nap, getting out of his heavy armor, taking off his chains, and just sitting there in a chair with some food. Just like a fruit plate. A plate full of food which a servant brought to him. Like, he's like, you know you're free, right? Yes, but it's the least we can do. It's like, very well. He just sits there and scratch that. His gauntlets and chains are staying on. Axe is on his side. It's just that his chest plate and helmet are removed. His long white hair flowing in the wind, with his scars and crimson eyes looking out in the distance. Him just eating an apple at this point, in a ridiculously small chair for his size. Him just taking a moment to himself. The mages and such coming to check out the towers and kingdoms, and even the mages' halls, where some of the knowledge is kept. Some tribesmen, leaders and such, don't want to fight Bell. They sort of said they've had enough fighting and that they're stopping. With all the land that they've taken, the mages and such are discussing with the leaders what sort of things should they form. Like, should it be the kingdom? Or like a republic? Like, thing taking on votes? What should they do, is what they're asking. Most of them saying, well, some of them question, would it be okay to have another monarchy? Like, no one's really stood out in this war, we've all just been fighting. Should we just, like, have the Council of Mages and the Council of Tribesmen to discuss matters, or what? Like, several of the mages said they would actually prefer to take over teaching at the school. Because as they know, there were several mages that were taken from the school, teachers and grand masters and such, and sent out to fight on the front lines. But with the mages on the tribesmen side fighting just as hard with just as much skill, they were able to kill most of them. Some saying that they would rather take over the position of teaching at the schools. Others saying that they wouldn't mind being part of a council to discuss matters. But what about the tribesmen? Do some of them want to become rulers? Some say highly not. They're more or less interested in ruling themselves. So could it be like just an organized group of tribes and such living in these vast lands? Just taking over the cities and strongholds, putting up their own? That's where they're coming to the feeling, discussing this amongst other lords and such. Some tribesmen say, why not, if we're going to do a monarchy, put the warhound at the front? Some of them looking at him, or at the very least, as they would say, join the other kingdom, saying that they wish to join his kingdom. And that the princess could just take over, or just like be put in charge for now. Because she's the only one who really has any sort of experience in matters of state, so it's very confusing for a lot of them. As at one point, as they're discussing this in the throne room, Belle just walks past them, just stretching. Several of them noticing him, noticing his long white hair and the chains on his side with his axes. Some of them asking for him to come over. He's like, what? Them saying, would he be interested in ruling a kingdom? He's like, just giving like a very loud laughter. Some of them are unnerved, and even the princess is like, why is he laughing? He's just been offered becoming a king. He's like, you kidding? I'm not keeping my family here. You insane? The warhounds, if they wish to say, and if you were going to choose a leader among them, choose Aaron. As he says that, oh, goodbye. They're like, wait. Where are you going exactly? He's like, well, for the longest time, I swore to myself, if I ever get a chance, I'm going to Arario. The princess saying, you mean the land with all those adventurers? Yep. That's where you want to go? Mm-hmm. Several of them, why? Because I hear it's a nice place full of land and adventure. And I hear it's just generally a nice city, like some of the mercenaries and Amazons that we've worked with in the past. Wait, the woman taking a double... Wait, you've worked with the fought beside the Amazons? Yep. They were the adventurers from there. Wouldn't surprise me though if they don't remember us. Cut to a flash of Aisha and some of the remaining Amazonians that didn't like leave or just didn't die, are like all thinking back on like when they fought with the warhounds and remembering the chain, the axes, and the cloaks they were given. Some of those like are on display in like a hall dedicated to their time as mercenaries. They really haven't done much mercenary work aside from a few others, and those pale in comparison to some of the things like, oh yeah, we just did a few bit of fighting against like for a rival lord. The others discussing how they like fought down entire armies of ghouls, like these, as they gave descriptions and showed them the cloaks and the chains and the banners that were given, and the banner that was given to those that remained after the whole war. Them all like sort of looking at them with pride. Asking like, what was the last thing you heard about that? Well, the warhounds were still fighting. Belle had risen from being a lowly slave to a general, but the Empire's pretty much done for. She's questioning why Belle has gone out dodge yet, not knowing every single detail. And then like the news finally comes, like after a little while, by Hermes himself saying that the Empire apparently has fallen, pretty much spreading the news about this far-off empire that has finally fallen, that was in power since pretty much the gods came down, or even long before then, when the gods did not even walk on the earth. They were more or less stayed in heaven, quote-unquote. With all that knowledge being known, there's like a shockwave throughout them, like saying that was so much history in that empire and it's finally come crumbling down. Some of them are happy about it and such, because several of them disliked slavery. Some of them are neutral, and that's actually pretty much the consistent of every single one of them. They did not care for the kingdom because slavery is bad in most of their minds, with a few exceptions saying, I'm fine about it, but dang, that empire was around for ages. How'd it fall down? Well, let's see. Thousands upon thousands of tribesmen, slaves, and an army of ghouls attacked the empire, all led by a group of mages, and they toppled it. As they get to hear the stories of the warhounds and such, the warhound stories, even though they did not care for it to happen, their stories are spread wide around the world, from just messengers, rumors, and all the stories getting twisted up by them. But as that is the end of that, Belle's just ending the day talking with Integra and his family. What should they do? Belle's family, Rose, Quartz, and his mother, all pretty much saying they wouldn't mind staying here, actually. The warhounds seem to be content to stay. Just seems like it's only Belle. That being said, Belle's left to a lot to think about. The warhounds, more or less, are just staying behind because this is a place they've only ever known. And they really don't mind it. It's just that with the empire gone, they may need to stick around to sort things out. Belle saying he's getting out. They wish to do the same, it's up to them, but he's getting out with Integra. Integra wishing to follow Belle wherever he goes. But that'll be the end of this. I hope you all have had a nice time listening to this, and soon we'll be getting into the actual story of Dan Machi. Again, I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.